guys, Comics Kid 2099 here. I've got another volume of Wolverine and the X-Men here to review for you guys. As you may know, every week I've been reviewing a volume of Wolverine and the X-Men, and right now I'm on volume 3 of this series. And this, as you can tell, this ties in with the Avengers vs. X-Men event that was going on in 2012. And I'm guessing all of the major X-Men books and Avengers books were somehow tying in with Avengers vs. X-Men. I know that this series did it for 2 volumes. I know that Kieran Gillen's Uncanny X-Men, which was going on at the same time as this series, it was also for 2 volumes tying in. And then I think some of the Avengers books also tied in. I don't know, though, because I wasn't reading Avengers books at the time. Still not. So anyway, if you will recall, when I first started reviewing this series a couple of weeks ago, I said that I had heard a lot of people say that this series started off really strong and then kind of petered off a little bit, didn't get as good as it was approaching the end. And I specifically, one of my big worries about this series was that while it's able to do its own thing, it's going to be really good, and then when a big event comes along, it's going to be forced to tie in with the big event, and it's not going to be as good. And I hate to say it, but that's kind of what was going on with this volume. I have absolutely no interest in reading Avengers vs. X-Men. Everything that I have heard about it, everything that I have seen about it looks abundantly awful. And reading this volume that ties in with it, I can confirm that it looks really, really awful. What I understand, I'm just assuming that all of the people who went into creating Avengers vs. X-Men, what they wanted to do, they wanted to have hero versus hero, and both sides kind of have a legitimate point to their argument with each other. And so the reader has to kind of decide which character they're going to side with. And the problem is, it's not a situation of both sides are good guys and they both have legitimate points. It's a situation of everyone involved with this story is a complete and utter idiot, and they all are saying and doing really stupid things. And that's mainly what's going on in this book. And like I said, I have absolutely no interest in reading Avengers vs. X-Men. And this volume is 4 issues, I think. It's issue 9 through 12 or 9 through 13. It's 9 through 13. So however many issues that is, I can't do the math off the top of my head. And a lot of this book is showing us kind of what's going on in Avengers vs. X-Men. Like, we get to see a fight scene between Red Hulk and Iceman, and we get to see, very briefly, Angel fighting Hawkeye and Angel fighting War Machine, and I don't care about any of that stuff, and I kind of have to wonder if Avengers vs. X-Men is 12 issues long, and then there was a 5-issue miniseries just showing all of the fights that were going on, why do we have to see some of that going on in this book? Why can't we have more stuff with the Wolverine school going on here? Why do we have to have Avengers fighting X-Men in this book? I understand that it's tying into that event, but surely with so much Avengers vs. X-Men stuff out there, you didn't need to spend so much of this book with X-Men fighting Avengers, and at one point, X-Men fighting other X-Men. I really didn't need to see all of that. Now, maybe they were all assigned, okay, this is what you're going to do in your stuff that's tying in with Avengers vs. X-Men. So maybe it wasn't even Jason Aaron's fault. Maybe he was just assigned this is what he was going to do. I don't know. But just from my perspective, I really didn't need this to be as heavy of a tie-in with Avengers vs. X-Men as it was. We do get some really nice character moments here, I will say that. If you will recall, a while back, when I was reviewing X-Men Schism, I said that it was really weird that Wolverine was making such a big deal about Cyclops sending kids into the field of battle, considering a few times he has had to murder children. He led a team that killed a child in the beginning of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run, and I have been told that, hey kitten, got a cat right here. You may be able to hear that, I don't know. Here, I don't know if you guys have met this cat. Come here, kitty. Forever ago, I used to do videos with this kitten in the thumbnail. She's gotten a little bigger since then. So she came in here wanting to see what I was doing, and now she's gone. Okay, so anyway, where was I? A while back, at the very beginning of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run, Wolverine led a team of X-Men to kill a child. And then a friend of mine who read Avengers vs. X-Men, at one point in that story, Wolverine's solution to this whole problem is to kill Hope Summers. In this book, Wolverine is being characterized as, I may be the guy that you call to come and kill someone if they need to be killed, but I am not the guy who kills children. I am the guy who saves children. And if you've read Avengers vs. X-Men, if you've read Uncanny X-Force, then you may say, okay, that's really inconsistent with those other portrayals of Wolverine. and it is. But I like this idea that Wolverine has a certain line that he draws for himself. He's willing to do a lot of stuff for the greater good, but he has a line where he doesn't cross. I like that idea, even if it is wildly inconsistent with other very recent portrayals of Wolverine as of this comic book. It is very inconsistent with other versions of Wolverine, but what can you do? Also, Rachel Gray gets an issue here where we kind of get inside her head, and she's a character, almost always, I never like her, and here, I can kind of sympathize with her. I still don't necessarily like her, mostly because, like I said, everyone involved with the Avengers vs. X-Men conflict is just kind of an idiot, and none of them are really sympathetic. None of them really have a good point. They're all saying and doing things for really stupid reasons, in my opinion. But I can still kind of sympathize with Rachel. She has this rock in a hard place situation where she's at, and I can kind of feel sorry for her based on what's happening in this issue. And maybe my favorite issue that we get to explore another character is the issue that focuses on Warbird. Mostly because, as of now, I know next to nothing about Warbird. I don't even know if she was appearing in other X-Men books around this time. I had heard that she appeared in another X-Men title. I don't remember if it was Astonishing X-Men or Amazing X-Men. I don't even remember if Amazing X-Men was going on at this time, but I am pretty sure she was appearing in another title around this time, but just in the Wolverine and the X-Men series, she really wasn't getting a whole lot to do. Basically, she was supposed to be Kid Gladiator's bodyguard, and she didn't really do a whole lot of that because there was at least a couple of times where Kid Gladiator was getting into trouble, and she wasn't really able to do anything about it. But this issue gives us a little bit of her backstory. It makes her much more of a fleshed out character, and I really like that. And I would love to see a lot more done with this character because I really liked her in this issue. Mainly because a lot of these other characters, they're just saying and doing things for the most stupid, petty reason possible, and then you've got Warbird. Really, all she's there to do is to protect the royal family, and I really like that she's not here for political reasons, she's just here to do her job, and I like that. All these other characters, they can go die in a fire, but I like her in this volume. I didn't hate this book as much as it sounds like I did, but I definitely did not enjoy it as much as I did Volume 1 or 2, or even the Alpha and Omega volume, which I think as I get further and further into Jason Aaron's run, I'm going to find that the Alpha and Omega miniseries was just kind of superfluous and really didn't need to happen, but I even enjoyed that a lot more than I enjoyed this volume. The art is still good. Nick Bradshaw and Chris Bachalo are both still killing it, and I think permanently, from now on, anywhere that Chris Bachalo goes, Nick Bradshaw should follow. If Chris Bachalo wants to draw, say, Spider-Man, then Nick Bradshaw needs to go in and kind of be his backup guy, because it seems like Chris Bachalo has a really hard time keeping up with a monthly schedule. And that's kind of what's been going on here. That was what was going on Mike Carey's X-Men series back in the mid-2000s, where for a little while, Bachalo would be drawing, and then Humberto Ramos would come in and draw an arc, and then Bachalo would do an arc, and they would alternate. And that's kind of what they're doing here, where Bachalo might draw 2 issues, and then Bradshaw will draw 2 issues, and they kind of switch it out like that. And they both work really well together. Their styles are not all that similar. You can definitely tell their styles apart, but I really like the way their arts kind of work together. Bradshaw looks different than Bachalo, yes, but I like their art pieces side by side in this book. Sometimes you'll have an artist who does an issue and then another artist does the next issue, and it's like, I don't really like the way these two artists are working side by side. I like them both separately, but I don't like them in the same volume. That's not happening here. I really like them both together, and if it was up to me, they would always be working together in the way that they have been on Wolverine and the X-Men. So, didn't really care for this book, mostly because it ties in with Avengers vs. X-Men. That's not a book that I'm ever interested in reading, and if you don't know anything about Avengers vs. X-Men, this might do an okay job of kind of filling you in on what's going on, sort of, but also I really think you do need to know what's going on in Avengers vs. X-Men to even understand this volume, and that is a problem. If you are reading Wolverine and the X-Men, and you are only interested in reading Wolverine and the X-Men, and then you have to take a stop and go read Avengers vs. X-Men just to find out what's going on in like a fourth of the entire run, that's problematic, and that's something that I wasn't ever really looking forward to. I was afraid it was going to be a problem in this series, and ultimately, it kind of is. I really hope that after Avengers vs. X-Men that Jason Aaron is able to pick it right back up where he left off and kind of get back to doing the fun stuff that he was doing in Volume 1 and 2. I really hope that that's what's able to happen. I don't know. So next week I'll be reviewing Volume 4 of this series, which also ties in with Avengers vs. X-Men. And in the meantime, throughout the rest of this week, I'll be doing 2 more reviews of various graphic novels, and then I will be doing a review of an episode of Batman Beyond. So be sure to check out those videos if you're interested, and then come back next week to see me do another review of Wolverine and the X-Men. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of the day.